Hey, I'm Andrew Blake. Welcome to Wealth Biased. Here we talk about one thing that almost nobody talks about, honestly, the psychology behind your money. Not stock tips. Not get-rich-quick schemes. This channel is about why you make the financial decisions you make and how to finally make better ones. Every week, I break down the hidden mental traps, the behavioral patterns, and the Wall Street psychology that quietly shape your wallet whether you realize it or not. Today's video? We're diving into why nobody actually cares about your money mindset and what you should be focused on instead. If that sounds like something you need to hear, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe. Let's get into it. Nobody cares about your money mindset. Not your bank. Not the stock market. Not inflation. And definitely not the guy on your For You page selling a $997 course on unlocking your wealth frequency. Your mindset doesn't lower your interest rate. It doesn't stop your grocery bill from creeping up every single month. It doesn't show up on your balance sheet. It's not a strategy, it's a feeling. And feelings, left unchecked, are exactly how smart, hard-working people end up broke. For the next 18 minutes, I want to walk you through why the gap between how you feel about money and how money actually works is where almost everyone quietly gets destroyed, and what to do instead. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody puts on a motivational poster. You can have the most positive, abundant, I attract wealth mindset in the world and still go bankrupt. In fact, behavioral economists have found something almost backwards from what self-help culture tells you. The people who feel most confident about money are often the ones who manage it the worst. Confidence isn't competence. Believing you'll be rich someday isn't a plan, it's a placeholder for one. Think about it like this. Nobody boards a plane and says, "I have a great flying mindset," and then skips the instruments. The pilot doesn't feel the runway. They check the data. Money is the same. It doesn't respond to belief. It responds to behavior. And that's really what this video is about. Not whether you should feel good about money. Feeling good is fine. The problem is when feeling good becomes a substitute for doing the unglamorous, boring, repetitive things that actually build wealth. So let's get into the 3 psychological traps that convince smart people their mindset is the problem, when really, it's their behavior. Trap hack 1: treating yourself. Let's start with the one almost everyone in the UK and US has fallen into, the dopamine loop of treating yourself. Here's how it works. You have a rough day. Maybe it's work stress. Maybe it's a bill that just landed. Maybe it's just a gray Tuesday in February. Your brain wants relief fast. So you open an app, Uber Eats, ASOS, Amazon, whatever your flavor is. You buy something small. A 15 candle. A $40 pair of sneakers you don't need. And for about 90 seconds you feel amazing. That's not weakness. That's neuroscience. Spending money, especially impulsive, unplanned spending, triggers a dopamine response almost identical to the one gamblers get pulling a slot machine lever. The purchase isn't really about the candle or the sneakers. It's about the relief. And here's the part nobody talks about. Credit cards make this loop almost frictionless. When you pay with cash, your brain registers a small loss. Psychologists call it the pain of paying. You physically watch money leave your hand. But with a tap of plastic or a face scan on your phone, that pain disappears. You get the dopamine hit with none of the discomfort that's supposed to keep you in check. That's not an accident. That's the entire business model. Visa, MasterCard, and every buy now, pay later app are engineered to remove friction. Because friction is the only thing standing between you and the next purchase. So here's where the average credit card debt in America, that's $6. 500 figure from the top of this video actually comes from. It's not one big reckless decision. It's hundreds of tiny, 90-second relief purchases that quietly compound into something enormous. And this is exactly why mindset doesn't fix it. You can affirm, "I am disciplined with money" every morning in the mirror, and it won't matter at 11 p.m. when you're tired, bored, and your thumb is hovering over the checkout button. Discipline isn't a personality trait you summon on command. It's a system you build in advance when you're calm, not when you're vulnerable. The fix isn't more motivation. It's more friction. Delete the saved card details. Use a debit card with a separate fun money account that has a hard limit. Add a 24-hour rule before any non-essential purchase over $50 or $50. None of that requires a better mindset. It just requires removing yourself from the equation at the exact moment you're least trustworthy, which, for all of us, is the moment we're emotional. Trap hack 2: Wall Street's favorite habit. The second trap is one that's existed forever, but social media just put it on steroids: comparison. Here's a story that captures it perfectly, and it comes straight from how Wall Street actually behaves. In the late 1990s, during the dot-com boom, there were fund managers professionals, the people whose entire job is rational analysis, who knew, on paper, that internet stocks were wildly overvalued. They said so privately. But they kept buying anyway. Why would trained professionals do something they knew was irrational? Because the pain of underperforming their peers for even one quarter felt worse than the risk of a crash that might happen later. One fund manager famously put it this way: "It's better to fail conventionally than to succeed unconventionally." If everyone loses money together, you keep your job. If you're the only cautious one, and the market keeps climbing without you, you look foolish, and you might get fired before you're ever proven right. That single sentence explains almost every bad financial decision you've ever watched a friend make. It's not that they don't understand risk. It's that being different from the group feels more dangerous than being wrong with the group. Now bring that down to your actual life. You don't manage a hedge fund. But you feel the exact same pressure every time a friend posts a new kitchen renovation, a coworker leases a car you can't justify, or your sibling's family takes their third vacation of the year. Nobody is forcing you to keep up. But the social cost of falling behind feels enormous, even when the financial cost of catching up is what actually wrecks you. This is the real reason financial advice like "live below your means" sounds so simple and is so hard to actually do. It's not a math problem. It's a social problem wearing a money costume. You're not really comparing bank accounts, you're comparing status, and status is something humans are wired to track instinctively, the same way we track threats or food. The people who build real wealth quietly, over decades, tend to share one unusual trait: they've made peace with looking, on the surface, less successful than they actually are. They drive the older car. They live in the smaller house, not because they can't afford more, but because they've decoupled their self-worth from other people's opinions of their spending. That's a hard thing to do, because it goes against instinct. But here's a practical way to start. The next time you feel the pull to match someone else's spending, ask yourself one question: am I buying this because I want it, or because I don't want to feel behind? That single question won't fix everything, but it will catch about half of the unnecessary purchases before they happen, because it interrupts the social reflex with a moment of actual thought. Trap hack 3: the inflation illusion: why you feel poorer even when you're earning more. The third trap is the one that makes people feel almost a little bit crazy, because it's not really about bad decisions at all. It's about a system that's actively working against your perception of progress. Here's the scenario. You get a raise. Maybe it's 4%. You feel great for about a month. Then you notice your grocery bill is up, your rent renewed at a higher rate, your gas or petrol costs more. And somehow, despite earning more money than you did last year, you feel like you have less. That's not your mindset failing. That's inflation doing exactly what inflation does, quietly eroding the value of every dollar or pound you hold, even while the number in your bank account goes up. Here's a number that tends to shock people. Something that cost $100 or $100 in the year 2000 would cost roughly double that today, just from inflation alone, without buying anything extra. Your salary chart might be going up and to the right. But if you don't account for inflation, that chart is lying to you. It's measuring quantity of money, not power of money. This is the trap. Psychologically, humans are wired to respond to round numbers and visible totals. We see $75,000, and our brain registers that as meaningfully different from $60,000, even if inflation has quietly eaten the entire gap. Behavioral economists call this money illusion, our tendency to think in nominal terms instead of real, purchasing power terms. It's not stupidity. It's just how the brain is built to process numbers it can see versus erosion it can't. And this illusion has a dangerous side effect. It makes people feel like personal failures for something that is, in large part, a macroeconomic reality outside their control. You didn't suddenly become bad with money. The ground shifted under your feet, and nobody told you. So what do you actually do about something as big as inflation? You can't out-mindset it, and you definitely can't out-budget it through willpower alone. But you can do two concrete things. First, stop measuring your progress in raw dollar or pound amounts. Measure it against inflation, so you know if you're actually moving forward or just running in place. Second, recognize that cash sitting still in a low-interest account is guaranteed to lose value over time. That's not a risk, that's a certainty. Money that isn't growing at or above the inflation rate is shrinking, even while the number stays the same or even ticks upward. This isn't financial advice telling you to gamble on risky investments. It's simply this: understanding inflation removes the shame from a problem that was never really about your character in the first place. And once shame is out of the picture, you can actually think clearly about solutions instead of spiraling into the same "I'm just bad with money" story that keeps so many smart people stuck. Conclusion: what actually works? So let's bring this all together. Trap 1: the dopamine loop taught us that willpower fails at the exact moment you need it most, so the fix is removing temptation before the emotional moment arrives, not trying to out-discipline it in real time. Trap 2: the comparison trap taught us that most overspending isn't really about the item at all. It's a social reflex disguised as a financial decision, and the fix is pausing to separate want from not wanting to feel behind. Trap 3: the inflation illusion taught us that feeling behind financially isn't always a personal failure. Sometimes it's an invisible economic force, and understanding that removes the shame that keeps people frozen instead of moving forward. Notice that not one of these three fixes required a better mindset. Not one of them required you to wake up and feel different about money. Every single fix was structural: a system, a question, a number you track. That's the whole point of this video. Mindset is not nothing. Believing change is possible matters. But belief without a system is just a wish, and money, frankly, does not care about your wishes. It responds to behavior, friction, and time, nothing else. So here's your actual takeaway, not a feel-good one, a usable one. This week, pick just one of the three traps we covered and build a single piece of friction around it. Delete a saved card. Ask yourself the behind or want question before your next purchase. Or open your bank statement and check whether your savings are actually keeping pace with inflation, not just growing in raw numbers. Pick one. Just one. Because real financial change was never about thinking your way into wealth. It was always about building, one boring, unglamorous system at a time. If this helped you see your own money habits a little more clearly, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. And that's a wrap. Thank you genuinely for watching all the way through. Most people scroll past the truth about money. You didn't. And that already puts you ahead. Here's what I want you to do right now, just one thing. Pick the one trap from today's video that hit closest to home: the dopamine loop, the comparison trap, or the inflation illusion, and take one small action on it before tonight, not tomorrow. Tonight, because real change doesn't start with a better mindset. It starts with a single better decision. I'm Andrew Blake, and I'll see you in the next one.